as you know, one reason why it's important to know how to track the localizer outbound is you frequently have to do it to start an ILS approach when you're not radar vectored to final. You'll fly away from the airport on the localizer, then do a procedure turn, and come back inbound on the localizer for the approach. In this case, I'm flying eastbound away from Gillespie Airport on the Gillespie localizer on an outbound course of 089 to Barrett intersection. I've climbed to 5,500 feet to clear the terrain and keep me above the Class Delta airspace at Gillespie. Now, even though I'm flying outbound on the localizer, I've got the OBS set to the inbound localizer course of 269. This reminds me that when I'm flying outbound on the opposite heading, I have to fly the needle opposite also. That means fly away from the needle instead of towards it. To make sure I know when I'm at Barrett intersection, I'll use the 043 radial of the Pogi VOR. The frequency of Pogi is 109.8, so I'll tune that in my number 2 nav. And then I'll identify the station. That's Pogi, all right. Now I'll set my number 2 OBS to 043. When I get to Barrett intersection, I'll continue to track the localizer outbound in preparation for turning around to fly the localizer inbound towards the airport. Of course, many approaches have a locator outer marker where this approach has an intersection. Now, since this approach does not specify a particular ground track for the turnaround, such as a holding pattern or a teardrop turn, I can use any kind of turnaround I want, so long as I do it on the side of the localizer shown on the approach chart. This turnaround is called a procedure turn, and there's lots of ways to do it. But let's make life easier and use the method shown on the approach chart. It has you make a 45-degree right turn off the localizer, fly for 1 minute, and then a 180-degree turn back to intercept the localizer. The headings away from and back to the localizer are shown on the approach chart. 134 away and 314 back. Well, we're now east of Barrett, so it's time to make our procedure turn. I'll turn to the right of the localizer to a heading of 134. And now that I have my wings level, I'll start timing for 1 minute. There's my 1 minute. So I'll make a 180-degree left turn now to a heading of 314. As soon as the localizer needle starts to move, I'll turn to my inbound heading, which with the wind correction was 276. There's the needle movement, so I'll start my turn. Now it's just a case of tracking the localizer like we did before. With your ability to track the localizer in both directions and do a procedure turn, you've added some important skills that you'll use to make the magic of breaking out of low clouds and finding the runway numbers in your windshield happen for you.